And the thing that you said that to me is so important. You've got to be mentally, physically, and even emotionally, I think, prepared, right? I think it's important when you're doing what you love to have money to do it with.
100%.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Part of me is like, life is too short and your life can change tomorrow or the next hour. So definitely everything that, even the hard stuff, is a blessing.
You're watching Chic Innovator. Stay tuned for fascinating topics, fascinating people that have style and are innovative.
My name is Alex Callejo, and basically a lot of people in this fashion community know me as a photographer. I do a lot of the runways, editorials, things of that sort. But yeah, I was more or less born and raised in Chicagoland, and that is one version of me for sure. And I do have other versions of me.
We're going to find out about the other versions of you.
Yes.
Of him. So, hey, listen, thanks for being here. We've known each other, for a long, long time. We were so young when we met. Yeah. No, we've known each other for over 10 years, for sure.
It's time flies. Yeah. What can I say? Time
flies, and I'm so happy because we've gotten to work together, and then we've even got to go to New York Fashion Week together. I know when my daughter was in New York Fashion Week a couple of years ago. Thank you so much because you took pictures of her and, you covered some of the designers that she was in. That was an experience for her and for me too. But thank you, for being part of the La Familia.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love to support friends and then to see, obviously, your daughter grow and, support her in that capacity and try something like that. It was super fun. We had a good time, right?
It was a lot of fun. We had several friends that attended as well, and then we know so many people in New York as well, and so anyway, it was great. But thank you for being here today. And I think what a lot of people don't know is that we record usually on a Sunday, and so I really want to thank you because it is taking a special time out of your week, and so we're really grateful you can be here. But I really want people to get to know you a little bit better. As I mentioned, there's so many different things that you've done really at a very high level in the fashion industry. But there's another part of Alex that I think people need to know. And so you're a nurse and you're in the management arena and now you're teaching. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So Filipino-American, right? A lot of us Filipinos, that's kind of one of our main imports from the Philippines is that we become nurses. A lot of them, it's kind of the butt joke. But yes, I became a nurse a long time ago. I don't want to show how much I age, but a long time ago. But basically what my specialty was, I did a lot of different things in the nursing world. I was emergency medicine for a long time, let's just say. Then I went into administration. I was like a nurse supervisor for level 1 hospitals for quite some time. And then I changed into management into our public health, employee health, occupational health scene for advocate for quite a long time as well, and especially during COVID years. So that's where I got really it got really intense and challenging during the COVID years with that role. And then after that, I went into there was some restructurings, let's just say, and a lot of changes with COVID. We all know about that. So I went into a different arena. I tried some primary care services. I was kind of like concierge services. So I moved into that sector. The company was called Premise Health, and basically they're a nationwide company that provides primary care for like big organizations like Google or American Airlines or United Airlines. So we just provide the healthcare for them. And then I eventually changed, probably recently in the past 2 to 3 years, I crossed over into the VA sector, the government sector. So I was working over at the VA over at the Great Lakes, which is also a naval base. So they have the DoD world.
Oh, you were out there. I remember a couple of times. I know I have called you about photography, and I thought you had mentioned that. I didn't quite understand what you were doing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there I was in charge of the immunizations for the veterans and the active duty and dependents and whatnot. So that was my role there. But more recently, I just transitioned because it was quite a distance for me. I live in the suburbs, but it was quite a drive for me. So I moved towards Hines and Maywood, which is closer to me.
Okay. Yeah. Which is a very active area too. There's
It
a lot of
is.
need there. So
It is, yeah, definitely a lot of vets there. We don't have the active duty it has over at the Great Lakes. But to your point, a lot of times what would happen is that if I had a photo shoot or photo event in the city, coming all the way from Great Lakes all the way to the city, you can imagine took a long time.
Yeah.
Versus like say I'm in like the west side of Chicago, it's like a lot better for me. So.
well, the interesting part is that during that period, you were still doing a lot of photography, still very involved in the creative arena. You did a couple of major events as well, where you were involved with the production side of it, and so you were doing photography in that. And then I think also now, if I understand, you're also going out and doing more training as a photographer from that side as well. So teaching people.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're in a teaching
just kind
mode
of
now.
trying to evolve my journey. To your point, like, how did I find time to do photography? Why did I do photography if I had my day job and didn't take enough of my time? But for me, photography was kind of my counterbalance to that world, that stress that we face in that world with taking care of people, dealing with real issues and things of that sort. Especially
You were
COVID.
on the front line when it was COVID too, and you were taking care of a lot of people and also managing people, helping them.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
a lot of stress.
Lots of stress.
And he's always like very cool and calm, So
I try to be, but it has to kind of come out somehow. And I guess photography was kind of my way to kind of express that, right, and release that energy and balance that equilibrium, if you will. So to your point, what I started doing a lot was just taking my camera out there. It really kind of started. I'll even kind of go back even more, but like being from Chicago, I was really into the music scene, particularly the house music scene. So I used to DJ. I came from that era, when all the clubs back in the day. And frankly, what I would do is I would be always that guy with the camera also, taking pictures of like DJs and crowds and stuff like that.
So you were DJing, and then while the other DJs were on, then you were taking pictures of them as well.
Correct. So obviously here.
And that was before social media.
Yeah, basically.
As it was starting.
It was starting.
Yeah, as it was starting.
It was starting. MySpace and all that.
Yes.
Right?
It was all starting, and then it evolved to something completely different. So you kind of grew up with all that, and you created a lot of it too, right?
So yeah, I had fun. Like, there's a lot of like really famous, obviously, DJs and producers, pioneers from Chicago. So I felt like always like I'm in a position where we should document that, right, and take pictures of people and things of that sort. So that's kind of how that started.
How did you shift then? Because I know and again, Runway Latinx, right? We have fashion, gastronomy, mixology, and entertainment, because I think all of it is so important, and it's part of what we do. So I get it, and it's all interlaced. But how did you switch? Because you really have become quite well known in the fashion side of it. So how did that work out?
It's a good question. So as I got older, it was frankly just harder to be going out all the time and staying out all late and whatnot. So I basically had to shift my creativity, if you will, to more reasonable hours, if you will. So I guess what happened is I got invited to a fashion show, not much more longer after, your show. But it was over at the...
Wait a minute. So around the time we met is around the time you were starting to get into fashion?
More or less,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good. Okay.
Yeah, so it did start with runways. I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. Like, fashion, right? Fashion is very cool. Again, you have a lot of artists. You have the hair, makeup, models, the expression. Like, this is really cool. The photograph, right? Like, how do I get to interact and meet these people so I can, take pictures of the designs and things of that sort. So,
because I do want to interject. So for those of you, and there's many people that have still not been to fashion shows or some of these events, I mean, you go and you get to see not only on the runway, but people who are viewing, the audience who are participants, beautiful people. I mean, people dress up right? They make this an event for themselves. And a lot of these people are very interesting because, like yourself, they're not just into fashion, but they have other stories. And so it's really ends up being a very fascinating group of fun people.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough to, especially in the beginning, work with these organizations that were there was a meaning behind it, whether it be for, people that are dealing with depression or suicide, or just not being recognized, or illnesses and stuff like that. So I did like that piece as well, being obviously from the healthcare arena. So I thought that kind of was a nice it was a nice mix, if you will.
And a lot of these people that attend these events, are for that. I mean, Runway, it goes to benefit Pivoting and Heels. We raise money for scholarships, young people's leaderships, etc. And so I love that. So you started to make that transition. But you know what? For people that are watching, especially young people that want to get into this industry, or people that are just, have a creative side to them and they don't know how to make that switch, right? How do you do that? I mean, do you go to an event and then do you try to connect with as many people as possible, or do you go to an event and you really scout out maybe some of the key people and then follow up with them? What is your strategy? Tell me a little bit. Share with us so that people can learn from the great life you've had.
Yeah, I mean, what's the value of going to these fashion shows, right? So I tell a lot of people, like, what's kind of the objective there? Well, it's fun. It's exciting, of course. Like, who doesn't want to go there to see beautiful designs, models, and meet all these people? But also, you go there to network, right? You want to meet other, like I said, if you want to work with people, designers or cool people, cool designs and things like that, you have to get out there, and you go to these events to meet these people. So I met a lot of designers, models, makeup producers, and then in return, you're like looking at the big picture, like, why are we doing this, right? For a cause, or are we trying to sell a product? What is you trying to figure out how you fit in that?
Are you trying to grow as a person, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of interpersonal growth. Like some of these models, right? Like it feels good to like help models, just even if they don't become like successful runway typical models, but also I look at it as like just helping them for a self-esteem standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. So I like helping people with that as well, and photographers as well.
But how do you make those contacts? Because I mean, I have my theory and kind of how I do things and how I suggest, but I really would like to know from you, because it's a lot. I mean, you're walking into a room of strangers, especially if you're starting out and you're getting into the fashion industry, right? And you're coming in as a photographer, and then how do you know how to make some of the key contacts? So, because, you could spend, and really people, if you're watching this and you want to learn a little bit about the networking, I think this is important, because you could spend your time going to like a million events and not come out of it with something that's relevant. So I'm just kind of curious, especially as you were shifting from the DJing, arena to the fashion arena.
Yeah, I think social media helped, but really it is your work. I always felt like you have to let your work speak for itself. My pictures, right? Or if you're doing video, your video. So, and then of course you want to have those pictures, and you want to basically brand yourself and expose yourself, and then people will start reaching out to you as well. So that's kind of one aspect. Of course, as a photographer, you do have to you have to reach out to the stakeholders. Like I would reach out to you as a producer of a store, or I would reach out to a magazine, someone who's in charge of the magazine, or someone who's part of their public affairs team or whatnot. You want to make those key introductions and network and meet them. These model agencies, you want to find out who are the stakeholders or who are the main contacts. You want to reach out to them. Obviously designers, you want to meet like all the designers you can, so you can also potentially work with them and work together and to build a portfolio, again building your brand. So and then you can create more work for you and put it out there, and again social media, and then people will start noticing, right? So that's kind of how I started to get a lot of acknowledgement, if you will, by just letting
you do very
work.
good work. I mean, you do very good work. Alex and I were talking a little bit, so I'm very hard very difficult to photograph when I'm on the runway at our events because I'm moving. So we have about 100 feet of runway, and I walk around with a mic and I'm moving. And I've had a lot of photographers, they try to take a good picture of me, and there's a couple of things because I'm talking, I'm moving, I'm trying to say hi to people, I'm interacting, and it's fairly quick. I try to stop a little bit, which I think helps. And I know where my lighting is, which I'm pretty good about it, but you're one of the few that I've gotten some photos back that we've been able to give to like CS Magazine or Michigan Avenue Magazine, and we've been able to get them put in because it's the right angle, my mouth is in, with a mic in it. There's just, it's so, so tell me, because I know part of it is positioning, and, but what are some of the other things that you think help you in your craft?
Yeah, for that kind of photography, more or less like an event or photojournaling type of photography, you do think of the basics, right? You think of the lighting, composition, angles, and things of that sort. So those are kind of, you have to try and cover those basics. And really, ultimately, it's up to you. You have the lens, you have the eye. That's the first thing. You have to be able to know what looks good, right? So everyone can kind of shoot, but not everyone knows like really kind of what looks good to like what's really aesthetically can be very appealing to.
And does that come from you taking a lot of photos and then studying them, or does that come from studying other photographers, or?
Yeah, I think there is a learning aspect to it for sure. But I think some people just naturally have good eyes. You'll probably hear that. So some people just have knack and or some people just learn quicker. So yeah, it is a process. But again, like I said, some people just kind of speak through their eyes and their lens, and they can translate, these stories or these images, and they're really kind of in tune to what they're seeing, if you will. Some people have that kind of like almost like a sixth sense to see that and be able to capture that, I feel. But to your point, it does take a lot of practice, and some people can, just even refine that. So I feel like I'm always, even myself, just trying to always evolve and always try to learn and, stay motivated, stay hungry, and thirsty. Because I don't know, for me, it's like it's a kind of an internal thing. You just feel it in some images. You really have to kind of put your guard down and just kind of like, it's like, just again, it's like, you can't really describe it, but you're really just trying to kind of feel it.
Let it flow.
Feel it.
Yeah, and there is a gut. There's a gut instinct when you're doing something right. And so I could imagine that would be the same thing. And also when you're not, probably, you're probably, this is not going to go.
No, and it is subjective. Photography, art, fashion, very subjective. What may look good to one person may not look good to another. So to your point, or even like if I take a picture of you, like and you love it, I'll be like, well, that's not the one I actually thought that you would like. It's very subjective, right?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I can tell you, for me as a producer, one of the things I try to do, and we have Eric Jube, who's worked with us for many years now, is we really try to get spots where we set up for the media, for the photographer, where we have the right lighting. And he and I go over it several times, and there's several spots. And I mean, you've known that. And then we have some photographers that have been very supportive of us, and so because they are, then we do give them special placement. But it's interesting. It's a fight out there with the photographers. We try
the
to
pit. The pit is always a very interesting spot. I think Chicago in general, where like to your point, like I've kind of evolved in that role where I try to be like a pit manager. I try to like get everyone to get a good shot. And we're all on the same team, because like if I'm traveling around the world and doing all these other pits, like people don't know each other, and they get territorial and it gets nasty. It gets. Yeah, I mean, people positioning but we try really hard with the event. I work really closely with Eric to try to get lighting
in certain areas, we mark the spot as much as we can for the models. Sometimes the models, as much as we tell them, they kind of don't hit the spot, But for those models that are listening or want to be models, hitting the spot, your mark, is extremely important because that helps the photographers and videographers get the shot, the best shot as well. So
I mean, these runway shows are truly collaborative. There are so many variables, like to your point, if a model goes too far, too back, if the lighting's just not positioned correctly, or design is off, like, something is like, malfunctioning from a design standpoint. Like, there's so many things. Or if a photographer are just not ready for whatever reason, the battery's low, they're run out of memory, or
the battery. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's happened to me. Or your memory card. We always get anxiety about our memory cards getting full. But frankly, sometimes people just get fatigued, or they're just not ready. And that's the thing with these kind of events. You have to be ready at a moment's notice to capture the images, frankly. So it goes really quick.
Tell me a little bit about you, though, because how do you get ready? Because these events, or even if you're lecturing, you're talking to people, or you're going to an event to meet people, like recently, thank you, CS Chicago Magazine. I was in CS with Ruth, and we were in there. There was a party. You came to the cocktail party, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of context. How do you get yourself, or do you not, or do you just go mentally ready for some of these? Because I know from my perspective, some of my days are very, very long, and I'm working. I have my tech company, so I'm running that. Right now, we're in the process of doing our event, so they're very long days. But then you have to go, and whatever role you're playing, photographer or just networking, how do you keep yourself mentally ready? Is there any exercise that you do? Do you do deep breathing? Do you do meditation? Do you go out and scream on the corner? I don't what do you do?
I mean, mental health, huge, very important, right? How do we kind of clear our mind? And how do I prep for an event? Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Because it's constant daily, right? You try to mentally, keep your mental health as, healthy as possible, whether it be trying to eat right, exercise, things of that sort. Just spending time with family or watching a movie or something just to unplug. For an event, maybe I don't really in my mind, I'm always thinking, how's the lighting going to be? Where am I going to get positioned? Those are kind of the big things that are coming into my mind when it comes to preparing for, a runway show. Mm-hmm. If I'm preparing for a photo shoot, that's a little bit different, right? So we like to do a lot of planning, to have a nice team together. I like it to be collaborative, if possible, do meetings and things of that sort, just to, try to create a vision, be on the same with the vision, kind of mix our all these ingredients together, and have that prep. But as far as preparing for that, for a runway, or an event, there's the technical part of it, batteries charged, mm-hmm. your memory cards, your lenses, everything is clear. Yep. Make sure your lenses you got the right lenses, that they're clean. If I have to bring light, flash, or off-camera flash, I try to get a lot of information prior to coming to events. So You do. Yeah. So do I have to bring constant light? Do I have to bring flash? Things of that sort. But other than that, as far as prep, it's more a lot about our gear. After it though.
Okay. All right.
Because it is a lot of work to it sounds like, you just got to press the shutter, right? And that's all you do, right?
Yeah.
But after all that's said and done, you get exhausted. But there's the other part of it is the post-production part of it, editing, right? So, and fashion doesn't wait. You need to get those images, ideally even the night of. But, we try to get some imaging or content the next day. It's just very important.
And I have to share with you, I had somebody that wanted to do photography for us, and the package they sent us, whatever, and part of it was they would get us the pictures in a week to 10 days.
Yeah.
I'm there's no way.
Yeah.
Because we're getting asked immediately for the pictures.
100%.
You know, from the audience, from our sponsors, from the designers, and so. Do you go home that night? Like, what is some of the routine?
So, we were kind of alluding to the mental health, because sometimes your mind is just exhausted. Like, last thing you want to do is edit as soon as you get home.
I know.
Or go through all the images. Like, you just need to decompress.
Even with my social media, sometimes I'm like...
100%.
Yeah.
And this is where it does get challenging for me, because I do still have my day job, right? So, like, you do your day job thing, and then you get home, you're exhausted. Do I want to edit, right? But it happens. Or, like, you just be responsible. Planning is key, right? So, like, if I have something major, like an event, and I need to have that stuff done by the next day, then I try to make sure that I'm off the next day, right?
Okay.
Stuff like that.
So scheduling and planning for that.
Planning is huge. Especially when you're old, or I think in general, like, planning will save you a lot of grief if you can be organized and plan accordingly.
I think at any age.
At any age, you're
to
right.
be successful, planning is a critical.
100%. Yeah. And it applies to anything you do, right? So just doing your research, planning, and, just be good, organized, and good with your time management.
Usually, like, we do our events, and it's a couple of days, right? And then it's a Sunday, and a lot of them are dead.
Yeah.
Like, I have very young people that work with
100%.
us, and they're dead.
Yeah.
And usually, I'm still hosting people that are here from out of town. And then on Monday, we have to go in and make sure everything has been removed. Everything is removed. And then we start immediately the next 2 weeks. I have a new EA, and he asked me, so as soon as we're done with the event, we get to breathe. I said, no. We have 2 weeks of intense work that we have to do. We have to thank everybody. We have to follow up with the photographers. We have to get information to the designers, their pictures, their video. So planning that and planning your energy level, you have to also incorporate that into your calendar, because but I have to tell you, some of the people that work with us, we'll see what energy level, I'm looking at them, what energy level they bring, because you have to bring your game. And for me, one of the most important things, I'm sure as you as a photographer, is not just doing it, but the closing, is bring it to complete circle.
Yeah.
Meaning, for example, in your end, I would assume getting the pictures, even, I try really hard to say a thank you. Thank you for being a part of us. We send you guys, you've seen a letter, thank you for being part, blah, blah, blah. We have, but I think that part, people forget, and it's so smart you schedule that in. That's why you're successful at it.
Well, I think to your point, is a business, because it is a business, right? Again, people do it for fun, things of that sort, but you can treat, like, photography as a business, as I do. And just like anything, any industry, whether it be the hotel or things like that, customer service, you want to have your shit together, part of my French, and that includes, like, thank you notes and, following up after, and being timely and clear with your whatever product or service that you're delivering. Again, fashion does not usually wait.
No, it's quick. Yeah.
Especially runway, like, really those images, like, to your point, that used to be like 7 to 10 days, but the more I've been doing this, and, like, as I'll shoot like in New York, Paris, and all over, and I'm, like, usually shooting with Getty right next to me, and they'll have their editors, like, right on site,
like that,
doing the editing. I'm like, you guys are cheating, but at the same token, like, when I'm, like, a house photographer, these companies, like, we need them, like, tomorrow, like, everything.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's fine, but now, like, when I'm planning, I, like, plan to have editors to do my work, because, like, I'm exhausted, like I said.
Yeah.
To do that editing for me for the next thing. So I'm always trying to evolve, and that's kind of one of the things, particularly for Fashion Runaway, is to evolve that practice to not deliver images like 7 to 10 days, but really have that done the day of.
Yeah, you've got to do it right away. People, as soon as possible. And I think, again, the thing that you said that to me is so important, you've got to be mentally, physically, and even emotionally, I think, prepared, right? So.
Yeah, to your point, like, who wants to edit if they're, like, just exhausted or feeling down or whatnot? And that's just more or less for event style. runway, whether you do weddings or something like that. But when it comes to a little more of the creative side, like a photo shoot, editorial, for me that process is different. I just want to be clear that that process is different. Like I'm not going to deliver like an editorial or magazine shoot like next day.
Right.
Just like
Right.
you know, unless they're like
Okay.
dependent, there might be a special circumstance here and there. Never say never, right? But that process is different because we're talking about mentally prepared, because like a lot of that post production for more of that creative stuff does require like a lot of like fun creative stuff that we do in the post production that you have to be in the mood for, if you will, to do that.
And
you
you've
know?
got a team that's usually looking at it too and giving
Yeah,
input.
yeah. I mean,
so-
you definitely, if you're working with your creative directors, art directors, I even like pull in my hair and makeup team, the designer, models as well. Like again, it's collaborative, right? So I always like to get the more feedback as possible. But then again, you know, again, depending upon your team and what they're looking for, you are also that they're looking to you for that creative vision, right? From a photography standpoint, so you have to be understanding of your roles too, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
No, that's really great. And I know we're going to show the audience a little bit of input because I get a lot of questions from people about different poses, right? And, you know, do you put the camera low? Like, what does that do? Put the camera high? You know, where should the light be? You know, what, I mean, obviously we love twilight and we love, you know, sunsets. I'm a big fan of sunsets, and because the light is so good, usually the natural light. But some of those ideas, but some poses I think would be helpful. So I know we're going to show people. We have Becky's going to be showing us a little bit. She's one of our interns at University of Chicago, and she's gorgeous, and she's going to be helping us with some poses to show people. So I hope you don't mind, and you can stay and we can do a little bit of that. I think that'll be fun.
Sure.
But I do want to ask, because I think a lot of people, you know, especially young people will probably, that want to get in this industry, and a lot of times people say, and I do believe in that, do what you love, because
Yeah.
then it doesn't feel like work. But at the same time, you know, you've got these two roles that are very different. And I'm glad that you said, you know, that one of them almost helps you, I think, emotionally, mentally, to keep a balance. But it also helps, I believe, you know, I have my company and I run that, and it's completely different. It's a tech company. I'm a CEO of that. I think it's important when you're doing what you love to have money to do it with.
100%.
I don't know if you agree with that a little bit. And so, because some people might say just completely focus on one. And I think if you're being extremely successful in that, eventually if you can, but it takes some time sometimes to get there and to do that. What is your recommendation on that?
Yeah, I mean, photography was more or less became a passion, right? So a passion that eventually, like, I was getting gigs for, jobs and things like that. So it didn't really feel like work, to your point. Yeah, I mean, for me to leave the day job is just because I do have that stability there. So I think it's important to have stability, especially in this day and age, right? Like you think of, you know, healthcare, you think of retirement. I have a son, you know, you think of college and things of that
It's
sort.
the real stuff of life. Yeah.
Yeah, the real stuff you have to be prepared for. Could I do that with a small business, photography? You know, I know people that do it, but I do feel like you do kind of get, there's pros and cons, right, to living both type of lifestyles, whether you do photography as a full-time thing, or I kind of have the best of both worlds with having that stability with my day job, but also that side business that's become a passion as well, and that I'm also earning income on, right?
Yeah.
So,
And there's a lot of people, I have to tell you, in this industry, there's a lot of people like that. Like, a lot of us kind of joke around and well, what's your day job? Because I know a lot of people that are in tech,
yeah.
you know, a lot of people that are doing something that seems completely foreign. But what I have found is that if you have the capacity to be successful, and a good manager, you're able to apply that to anything, and most especially things that you are passionate about. And for me, a lot of the skills that I've learned doing my day job have made me really successful in what I'm doing with the fashion stuff.
Yeah, I think you have to embrace it, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
I love the challenge. I love the hustling.
Mm-hmm.
The hustling of, like, from a photography standpoint, like getting all these different gigs and things of that sort, and obviously traveling and doing fashion and things of that sort. So I love that hustle, but you have to embrace the good and the bad, if you will, because there's a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of work. You'll do some free stuff. You'll do some, not paid gigs. So there's just a lot of work that has to be done. With sometimes, frankly, there's no guarantee, and you're gonna make mistakes. That's just a given, and you will have to learn from it. And your journey is going to be different from everyone else's. So.
And for me, I got to tell you, like, for me, the biggest thing with everything is, number one, to be grateful for, like, the really small things as well as the big ones. And, we've had the opportunity to do some incredible things. I think if people follow our lives, it's like, wow, you're doing this. But I think a lot of it really leads from being grateful for the small things as well as the big things. And then I have a lot of faith, like, in stuff, because a lot of times, and trust me, especially this year, there's been a lot of times when like, if anybody else was looking at it, it's gotten so difficult, and to the point where somebody may think this is just not going to work. But I do the best I can. Our team puts everything in, and then we put it kind of hands of God and kind of let it go and have faith. Like, those two things for me are critical, I think, in the bigger success. I don't know if there are one or two things that are like that for you.
I mean, for me, I realized, like again, probably the healthcare part of me is like, life is too short, and your life can change tomorrow or the next hour. So definitely everything even the hard stuff, is a blessing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always learning. You always have to learn from whatever you experience and all the mistakes or what you go through, and try to evolve from it. But yeah, definitely I always try to stay humble with that, in that sense. I kind of was brought up that way too, and just to be grateful with the opportunity that you're having. I try not to take those things for granted, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful you're here. And I think we're ready to get a little bit of your behind the scenes knowledge of some things. So,
Sure.
Ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay.